Good morning, everyone. This is Frank Jordan with the World Healers Group and the wonderful People for People's communication system set up all over the world. And we really appreciate this opportunity to come to you on a regular basis because in our private group and in our private work, the World Healers are in the ascension process. And in doing that, we're clearing a lot of old information out of our systems. We're focusing in the moment of now to what is pertinent to now, and we bring that information through and give it to you directly so that you can incorporate any new awarenesses or knowledge or information that we have. And the whole point and purpose of this is we know that the frequencies of the world are rising. We monitor that. We monitor with the Earth systems, the Ring of Fire and the earthquakes and anything in Gaia that is of hazard to humanity. We try to pick up on the energies that are building for that and report that. And it's a process of just expanding consciousness downward into Gaia and Earth mind and upward into source and into higher consciousness and into high soul areas and sources and bringing everything into alignment. The progression is happening. Ascension is happening, but it can only happen as quickly as each one of us internalize and work within ourselves to release the third dimension reality of the 26,000 years of survival that we've been in, and focus our energy and information on and internalize that as knowledge of how to do things and working with energy, consciousness energy, which is what this is all about, is all about learning how things work. And once we have that understanding, and that's the point and purpose of this program, is to share information which we can internalize individually as knowledge. And as we internalize within ourselves and learn, we grow. We go as we grow. We rise the frequency set point in our chakra system of our evolutionary process, our individual process. And what we've learned is that the more you can release and turn away from the reliance on the third dimension, on the survival system, the more we reach upward and utilize our knowledge, our information, to internalize and develop our own energy skills of controlling our own bodies, our consciousness, our thinking, our point of awareness, as we learn to work with that through meditation and introversion, our set point rises in the chakra system. And we're at the point now, and the breakover point, where enough of us are doing this around the world that it is having the 100th monkey effect. The more people who add positive energy and frequency to this vast pool of consciousness that is the human intellect, that is the culmination of and point and purpose of 7 billion or so souls indwelling here, then the quicker we can raise that frequency level of the group mind consciousness, the more rapidly the Earth itself can respond and shift in the consciousness of Earth. But one important factor is always to remember is that in order to rise up, we have to clear down. And by clearing down, that means clearing the lower chakra system, our low self soul consciousness of reliance on the old patterns and forms and fears and anxieties and stresses and programming that we've been subjective to for thousands of years now. As we gain self-realization and internalize that and apply it to ourselves, that affects the vast pool of group mind consciousness out here that raises the frequency level of Earth itself. Earth has been in in trauma and chaos now for hundreds of years because of humanity's domination of Earth and and the resources of Earth and all the living species on Earth. And that consciousness has to shift into dominion, which is where we have, where we can acknowledge who we really are and what we're here to do, this 7 billion souls. For in dominion, we recognize that we're all part of the God source. We're all responsibility. Our responsibility is to act on the physical level to create and manifest into the earth reality the ascension process of moving up through frequency levels of knowledge and awareness, and to gain the skills and abilities to utilize our higher DNA and chakra systems, where we can become living gods. We can manifest with pure thought and intent, but we have to have wonderful clarity to do that. And that's why we stress meditation and clearing the old patterns and forms, and we teach you principles and ideas and ideals in how to do that. So with that said, Angel is going to come forward now and talk about the red moon and this the opportunities that are available for us in the next period here. And Angel, how are you this morning?
Very well, thank you. Good to be with everyone. So, when I was trained as a shaman, we always look at the different patterns and the messages that we would get from different planets and also from the moon. So, there's a total lunar eclipse tonight, which is going to be visible mainly in certain parts of the US, like Washington, D.C. And then when we go further to South America, it will be Rio de Janeiro, and it will be London, Scotland, Ireland, and some parts of France. It will be a total eclipse, and it will appear larger because it's closer to the Earth. So it's called a supermoon, and so it's very unusual to have that. It will be in the small hours of the morning on Monday, if you have a clear sky where you are. And with this moon, you can manifest what you want to see as we're going to step into the next Chinese year as well in a couple of weeks. And then you can put a bowl of water and put your intent outside. If you have a garden, you can put your crystals outside and charge them up. Ideally, you can put them up at night and then collect them in the morning. And that will be very good for all the crystals to charge up and get in unison with the times to come, with this year, with the beauty of what this year is going to bring, because it's a very powerful year. It's the year 12. And so 12 is the 12 strands of DNA. It's the 12 tribes. So we have many, as you know, the 12 planets and all kinds of different things. So it's a good time to actually set out your intent. And then if you have just a windowsill, it doesn't matter, but just put some water or maybe a bottle of water if you don't want to spill it out. And then when you drink it consciously. So I wanted to talk about a method in shamanism to clear also the old patterns. So it will be good to do that now before we really go into the new year. And it's to recapitulate events in our lives where we have lost energy. So when we do soul retrieval, we retrieve parts of the soul, parts of ourselves that goes into the universe. So when I do soul retrieval, for instance, I would see somebody at the age of, say, 3 years old, and I would see the way they were dressed, what happened, and get that part of the soul back. But we can also do that ourselves. So when we recapitulate, you can make up a list. And then the easiest is to make up a list of the closest events that you have now. And maybe some people that you had differences, accidents, traumas, whatever you had, and you just have a list. And then you go one by one. And sometimes if you have the events that you had when you were younger, if that comes up, just write it down on your list anyway. The idea is the more you clear, the clearer the mind gets, the more energy you recuperate, and therefore the more events you can remember that has happened in your lifetime, maybe other lives, in a womb. So the best way to do it, I found, is to do it in a place which is quite closed up if you can, like a bathroom or a small room. And then you visualize the event as it happened. Then you move your head. Say, for instance, you move your head on the side, and then you breathe in from the left shoulder. And then you try to get as much as the event as you can. And then as you breathe in, you bring your head to your right shoulder. You breathe out, and then you go back to the center. It doesn't really matter if you don't remember right and left. That doesn't matter. The intent is to breathe in and to breathe out, remembering the event. And at that point, it can be quite traumatic. So your body doesn't know the difference between past, present, and future. So therefore, the emotions of the past will come back, which is good. And then you need to keep on sweeping breath, inhaling, exhaling, going from one shoulder to the other one, until you feel that you are clearing as much emotions as you can. And you clean off any luminous fibers attached maybe to the person that you need to detach from. And then once you feel that you are comfortable with the event, then you can visualize the scene again at a place of no pity, as if you're watching somebody else's movie, or if you're watching somebody else's event. So it doesn't become personal anymore. And that way you can recuperate as much energy as you can. And that's how people who are elderly have as much energy as teenagers, because in the native tribes, the elderly have more time to clear, to recapitulate, because they're not busy working or looking after the family. So therefore, they can recuperate all these parts of that they have lost along the way, and therefore regained all that energy. Any questions about that?
You were saying that it doesn't matter really which way you tip your head as you're doing the breathing?
No, the best way is to go from one shoulder, so you can just move your head as far as you can to your shoulder. Breathe in and breathe out to the other shoulder. So it doesn't really matter. It works.
I would like to add some information that came to me while you were telling us that process. I always like to go underneath the dynamics of what's happening or what we're doing to the energetic systems that hold everything in form and force. And when you're going into the past, what you're really doing is going through the low self and accessing the Akashic records that literally are the crust of the earth, the silicon dioxide of the earth. And everything we do of an energetic nature is resonated into the silicon dioxide of the Earth's surface. And it's just like a gigantic computer chip. And that just holds and radiates back to us the information that we have stored there in this lifetime and past lives. And it's a support, a knowledge system that supplies our instinctive low self-consciousness of survival. And the way that operates is that wherever you live for a period of time, you create a node in the grid of crystalline consciousness. And that, no matter where you move around all over the earth, those nodes associate with the knowledge and information that is there at that point, and through the grid is available to you wherever you're at. And so when you lean your head over to the side, as Angel directed, extend your awareness down into earth and earth mind, asking to clear all the energy and emotion that's stored there, anything that's negative that would, and you want to be sure to direct the reason you're doing this is your intent is to clear so you have clarity for the ascension of consciousness to raise your set point up your spine, up your through your consciousness levels. And so by opening up the grid and clearing the low self, you're clearing those memories and emotions that are in resonance with the various parts of your body. You're clearing to the degree that you actually clear the mental, emotional, spiritual cause of all disease and illness that can be patterned into your system. And so you can, as long as you can feel the energy moving, and if you can remember specific incidents as you tilt your head back and forth and draw it up, if you can remember specific things in your lifetime, pull that up for sure. And what that'll do is trigger the access to other lifetimes, and more importantly, to your family patterns, your DNA genetics resonance, and you can clear that also. So that's a wonderful procedure to participate in, and you'll feel the energy move through your system. And just hold it and clear and release as long as it takes until you feel the energy stop moving, because what you've done is pull those old patterns of energy off of your grid, your Akashic record, the earth mind, and cleared yourself. And that's what I keep talking about in clearing. The more you do this, the more your frequency ranges rise, and the more access you have, the greater access you have to higher consciousness, because as you clear and release old patterns and forms that are holding you in the form of your human reality as you've known it, you're opening up the potential to future realities and higher levels of consciousness, and you have more power to co-create our future and our evolving reality, and that's our responsibility, is to do that. And so that's very good, Angel. Thank you for that. Do you have anything more you'd like to talk about?
Yes, you're absolutely right, because when you recuperate those parts of your energies, so then your light body is awakened. And then the more we awaken our light body into the higher dimensions, the more we awaken our gifts, and then we can see all the luminous fibers that are around us. We can see clearer, we can hear clearer, all what has been hidden from us from before are retrieved, because then you can remember, and then you can really remember clearly, because a lot of the time when we remember events, we don't really know, because if you realize sometimes somebody can recall the same event, and then you're looking at them thinking that person doesn't remember the same as me. So when we were younger, we can recall some events, or maybe this person said that or whatever, but maybe it's just an imagination or whatever we want to remember or whatever we can remember. So by doing that technique, we actually have really the event, because we can really see the event. That's why it's important to start from now, because the mind is fresher for these events. And then the more, the clearer we are, the more psychic we get, and the more emotions we have, then that way we can recall really the event as it was.
Very good. And I always like to say that in this clearing process or any ascension process, we have to clear what we are not in order to evolve to what we can be and who we really are, which is high spiritual beings, high soul beings that are indwelling in these bodies. And by understanding that principle, by letting go of everything you've learned, everything that is patterned into your system that is holding your point of awareness down, your comprehension of who you are, by setting and clearing that aside and clearing and releasing, letting it go, and any identity of being what you think you are or have been programmed to be in your past lifetime, in this lifetime, and in past lifetimes, and the patterns and forms of the group mind consciousness of the past. It's just like you're a bubble. You're lifting higher and higher and higher in the ponds until at the heart level you break through into the higher consciousness and leave behind the old survival low self patterns and forms, and the high self can literally take in, and your high soul can move into your body more, because right now it may be only 15% or 20%, and that high self is what is prompting you to, by I like to call it sending messages down from the mountaintop, and the more you can clear, the better you can hear, and the higher you can rise, and everything you learn at that point, because you will be receiving information from many sources. At that point is where it's important to do what I call listening and following intuition, the guidance of your own high self that has come in to literally command or and take possession of the consciousness of this physical body, and to domesticate literally the animal, which is our low self, and release the low self-reliance on anything addictive, anything that's addictive or sensual or sensuous. The low self loves that. That's our animal nature, and it'll keep prompting you to smoke another cigarette, to eat more food, to take drugs, or drink alcohol to excess. It'll keep prompting you because it's a sensual feeling. It makes you feel good, and the low self loves a good hit, no matter what the source is, whether it's emotional, from any kind of nutrition we can ingest. Because it's the animal consciousness. The higher consciousness can understand and can feel all of these things, but it prompts you to make right choice, to choose.
What you're speaking of, Frank, I'm sorry for interrupting. doing all of those, we'll call it sensual, things that make you feel that you belong in the society that we're living in now. It makes
Mhm.
you feel that you are part of. When you do follow the higher realms of knowing your higher self and having that integrate into your body, others keep trying to pull you into where they are because they're uncomfortable with, I, I see, I don't even know what to call it because one is not any better than the other. It's all just, a pathway that we're all taking. But it's curious to me to see on how people who are not into learning to better their conscious understanding or lifting their spirit or choosing to live into the spiritual realm of what we all are, keep pulling you back down into and enticing you with things here on this realm of what we live in society.
Well, I'd like to contribute to that, Catherine. In processing and working with thousands, literally thousands of clients for 35 years or so here, in processing them to clear the mental emotional cause of their illnesses, the patterns of in their subconscious mind, the chakra system, that and in clearing those patterns, we would clear up the cause of the problem. But in processing people, one thing I notice is people of a lower vibrational frequency that had not ascended very far up the pole, so to speak, of the chakra system, the spine. Those who were young souls that were coming in to experience the earth plane and to grow and accumulate knowledge or information they could translate into knowledge of how to ascend higher. Although they don't know this, and so low souls do tend to associate with other low souls and share information, and so they are the ones that get caught up in the addictions and have to go to the bar every Saturday night, just to reassure themselves that they have the safety of fitting in, of having the group mind consciousness of that level of people to support them, to acknowledge them. It's almost like everyone in that level is saying, "See me, see me, see me. How am I doing? Am I fitting in? Do you support me? Do I belong here?" On the other hand, those that I've worked with who come in with a higher soul knowledge and with a high soul, that have a higher level of past lives and whatnot, they have the problem of almost universally of feeling like they don't fit in. They don't fit into their family. They don't understand their family, why they act the way they do. They don't understand people, the kids at school. They never fit in, even though they might really work hard to fit in and belong. They always feel like there's something different. Well, when they get away from those influences and get into their own resources, those are the ones that'll study the metaphysical books, that'll turn away from the religious programming and the Bible and whatnot. Those are the people who become metaphysical oriented, and literally when they become practitioners and teach others on their level who are seeking knowledge and information, they become metaphysicians. Metaphysicians, the doctors, the true source of information and knowledge that is inspirational to everyone of a higher nature that are ready to receive that information. But you'll also notice that the people who are caught up in those lower levels, who are focused on religion and let God do it for me, I don't have the time to do it myself. Those people laugh at us. They think we're nuts. And what we're attracted to are people who have been shaman in the past and are teachers now in this cycle, and that's why people like Angel, who have studied these sources of information by working with these high-level people in the various tribes and civilizations that she has, she's accumulated a great workbook of information and techniques of how to explain how things work, how to how to step aside from the superstitions and the belief systems of the low self, which are there to just to satisfy and override your fears and anxieties of fitting in. And one of the big observations here of this is that the metaphysical people, the high level consciousness people, when in meditation and in healing is a wonderful way of using and developing your psychic abilities, your sensory abilities, your personal power. And the more and more you do this, the more and more you associate with metaphysical people and learn and internalize knowledge. And the more you share that, the more you grow. And that's literally what we're here and all about on this program. But yeah, those who cannot see in the lower realms of consciousness will try to pull you down and pull you back. And that's why, is because they're uncomfortable with your knowledge and your gifts and abilities, and they may aspire to be in a higher consciousness. They may get kicked off and want to be healers, but unless they take the time to do their personal work, it's mostly they're due to recycle and again and again and again in reincarnations until they accumulate enough low soul memory to allow their high soul. They all have a high soul. There's no doubt about it. But it's only to the degree that they're ready to hear and can accept and internalize that they can progress. How do you see that? Teresa, you're listening intently to us here. What's your feeling about all of this?
Yeah, thank you for all the contributions. It's really very insightful. And I am thinking back to a lecture that was given, and this can be found on YouTube, by a Canadian doctor by the name of Dr. Gabor Mate. He's from Vancouver, and he was he still is a doctor, but he was a physician, family physician for many years. He worked in hospice. He worked as he worked in on the streets with addicted people, and he relates all of the addictions that exist, and he even experienced addictions himself and was able to help others. But he points out that in the addiction, how he sees addiction is very different than is seen in the mainstream. In the mainstream and in the medical perspective, the allopathic and psychiatric, they see addiction as a choice. And from his experience, he talks about addiction being actually a place of discomfort that you're trying to seek relief from that discomfort. And the more that I think about it, there's definitely an overlay in what we experience in the clearing the way process, and that is, if let's say, for example, we feel anxiety or fear or whatever that feeling is, we seek out a balance to either distract us, as you mentioned, by eating food or smoking a cigarette or whatever. It doesn't matter what the addiction is. In fact, Dr. Gabor Mate's addiction was buying CDs of classical music, and it was, he tried to find that balance, and temporarily he did, and then he spoke about having to go out and get another one. It never solved the the shock or the trauma that he experienced in the past. He was never ever able to release that, and that's true of many addictions if we're not aware of how to do it. And the insights that we share, I've put out into the universe that we will communicate with him in some way and share what we know on how we do it, and if it helps others, then fabulous. It's a blessing to everyone. So what I see is when we feel those feelings, those heightened emotions, it's my opinion that when we experience a trauma, it's fueled by high emotions, perhaps terror or rage or fear or pain, whatever that is. And, to the point of when you feel like you've just been dipped in boiling oil kind of feeling. And that emotion seems to attach itself to the memory. And I would suspect that process was programmed in us all, and that's why it carries forward those two ingredients. But over time, we don't even remember. It's kind of calloused over. It's like it's like we make the analogy between a pearl, how a pearl is created. It's coated over with a smooth surface, but the sharp granule remains in the pearl, the granule of sand, the sharp edges, and as a metaphor for the shock or trauma. And over time, we don't feel the event anymore. But what happens is we go out in the world and someone walks by us and we don't even consciously register what's happened, but it triggers that old emotion. And so the process that we experience with our clearings is we rewrite those old those programs, or we basically scramble that emotional energy that exists or existed at that first moment that keeps reappearing in our now. And when we go back in time and clear that, it dissolves or scrambles the energy of the emotion and transmutes it. And that old memory may still be there, or that lesson still may be there, hopefully is there in a sense. And we now have taken that and added it back to our library, and we've, it's like throwing a large weight off of an air balloon. We're done with that weight. Thank you very much. Throw it off the edge, into the open land, and hopefully not on someone's head. We don't want to give our pain away, and sometimes that's how we get into traumas. People are in trauma and they don't know what to do with it, so they give it to us, and it just keeps staying alive in that way. So we release the emotion and we lift higher. And so essentially, Liz, as you said, and I'm glad Frankie said this, and that is, when we let those weights go, we make room. We make room for those things that we would like to manifest, those gifts to make room to store in our memories so that we can build our toolbox and share those tools with others. So there's my perspective on what it is for, what it feels like when we let things go, or perhaps a visualization on at least how I see it and how others may perceive it. Thank you.
Very good. You mentioned in your dissertation that moment of choice when an addicted person will always reach for the thing that makes them feel good, or alleviate the pain, or block out the pain of the emotional pain or the physical pain or the spiritual pain, or whatever it is that they're trying to avoid. And this comes right down to each one of us, is how do we use our personal power? And this takes us looking at the dynamics of that. Personal power is the choice of choosing the upper promptings of high self or the lower promptings of low self. And anytime you get caught up in the low self, you're absolutely giving away your personal power every time you fit into the group or do something to please others, or give yourself away sexually just to get attention and appreciation or something like that. That is losing and giving away your personal power. And part of the essential information or knowledge or ascension process is learning about your personal power. It's recognizing and realizing you are a God source, that you're here, and your physical body has been created and evolved for hundreds of thousands of years so that the high soul could indwell and direct us all humanity through this ascension of consciousness process, where we learn about our personal power and our gifts and abilities, and as we learn and grow and clear and go, we move the set point up through the chakra system and proportionally right up through our DNA strands. We add more strands, and more, with that comes more capacity, more knowledge, more abilities, right up to the 12th chakra, where we can become living gods with power of manifestation and with full knowledge of how everything works. Up until that time, gaining and accumulating knowledge is the process of learning and evolving and growing and going. And so personal power is what it's all about. And when we give away our personal power to others, which I just cringe every time I think of the millions of people who are baptized into or introduced into some kind of a religious form where they give their personal power away and allow the religion to dictate how they think, how they act, what they feel, their choices, and how they're going to conduct their life. It just freezes them in their tracks. And because of the fear and anxiety of the consequences of not following the religious beliefs. I know in some of the Muslim countries, particularly, you can't even express a question about any of it. If you do, the degrees of punishment run all the way from having a finger cut off to your hand to having your head cut off if you express yourself. And I don't know how long it's going to take the world to evolve out of that, but the frequencies are raising in Earth mind as we speak. So the instinctive promptings will be and is that oversoul will be able to indwell more deeply, more even in these people, because their high souls do not believe it. Of course, because their high soul is equivalent to our high souls. We're all aspects of the God force source consciousness, and so for them to evolve beyond that is going to require time and clearing the earth mind of the resonance of habituation and instinctive consciousness that keeps them in fear of questioning the God that they've been programmed to experience. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but it will happen.
It's right there with what you were saying, Frank. It's a fear of having to take responsibility of who and what you are. And that's why people give it up to someone else to do for them. And it's a program that started I don't even know how long ago, but it's a program that we all feed into, and it's not necessarily always, say, a religion or this or that we give up our control of self because we are in fear of what we really are, and we don't want the responsibility of thinking and doing and being the higher good of what we know we are. And it's almost like a cop-out. So there again, is that an addiction in itself?
Oh, absolutely. It's an addiction to life, because recognize the fact that if these people question their religions or their programming or their belief systems, they don't fit in. That's the first thing they do, is they get thrown out of the group mind consciousness, and they fear survival out there where they have to face the world by themselves without that support system. And because they've already given their power away to God, what they have created to be their God with their imagination, God will take care of them as long as they fit the form, fit the mold, and don't question it and don't ask. But that is totally giving away your personal power and choices as far as your spiritual belief system is concerned, and it absolutely blocks the ascension of consciousness. Those people, it may take generations and generations to lift the consciousness to the point to where all of that is thrown off. The problem with these religious systems is that they don't even allow their members to recognize or acknowledge any information of how another religion works. And I think there are three major religions around the world that ultimately control everything, and anyone that's in any of these religions, even the Christian ones, they're not allowed to look at how the other religions work or how they function. And if they do, there'll be a punishment or severe consequences, because one way they do that is by fear of the devil, fear of something that's going to get them or cause them a lot of pain and anxiety and stress. So this is going to be a process. This is where the metaphysical people come in, is that we function without any of those belief systems. In fact, that's one of the problems, if it can be called that, of metaphysics, is that we don't pull together in groups and solidarity and belief systems. We're open to anything that benefits everyone and equally. And this is the encouragement that we like to give with this group consciousness of the morphogenic field of the world healers is hey, here's information available for anybody of any religion, any source, any programs, and we'll tell you how to deprogram yourself of these limiting blocks and and patterns and belief systems that absolutely have you blocked from ascension of consciousness. Because you recognize that all of these religions promise that upon death or passage or into the next lifetime, you're going to ascend and be one with God, whatever their God is perceived to be. And some of them, like the religion, the Christianity, for example, don't even allow their people to believe in reincarnation, where you have the opportunity to grow from one lifetime to the next. They don't even acknowledge the high self, the oversoul. They know we have a soul, but that soul is going to go to paradise, but they don't understand what an afterlife is. They give them false ideas and false identities, a false reality of expectation, because they don't know. So what we really get down to is the fact that most of the world suffers under some kind of a form of misinformation, lack of knowledge, lack of the wholeness and understanding of the metaphysical world. That it's an individual process, and you're responsible for yourself. And by being responsible for yourself, you have direct access to knowledge and information and intuition from your high self, and you can talk to God. You don't need to do it through a church or a religious form. And religions in themselves absolutely are the domination fields of consciousness, and the whole world suffers from it. And I hope we can raise the consciousness quickly enough that in our reincarnations, when we come back in, there'll be a better world to come into, so we don't have to struggle for 50 years gaining understanding before we wake up. And that's happening. That's what the new the indigo children coming in, or crystal children, whatever they're called, that are coming to the clarity that they don't accept these patterns and programming. So there's one generation, and by the time they get up and can have an influence out in the general consciousness and have children that will be crystal children themselves, it may take 3 or 4 generations before we can really see anything happening. And, to the degree to where the shift can occur, the shift of consciousness that allows the ascension of consciousness for everyone. Any thoughts?
We're coming up to the top of the hour shortly. Not at this very moment though, but I have a request of Angel to take us through that meditation, that clearing meditation,
Mm-hmm.
the breathing meditation. I think it will be very, very, very helpful. Will prepare us for this evening's preparation to clear before the moon. And I've heard in the past that anything from, like if you look at a clock at a full moon, if you place an intention, it is not as strong as if you place an intention at, let's say, the 6 o'clock position, and allow it to grow and to develop and allow it to come into bloom at that 12 o'clock point. So we can prepare ourselves and we can even add to that meditation a world clearing, a clearing of the entire planet. And we can place the intention for those things to grow. So let's say, for example, the pollution in the world that is created by the lack of seeing into the future or carrying into the future generations or past traumas, like the hundreds and hundreds of wars and battles and bickering that's gone on, and perhaps we could clear those kind of things, and also clear. Everybody can contribute, but we also can clear from animals and the unseen beings that also require our compassion and awareness to them. So it would be fascinating to for all of us to participate in that and to expand on it. It would be a lot of fun as well.
Teresa, I have to admit that when you spoke before, the thought crossed my mind that to ask you to do that, to lead that meditation at the end of this second hour, as you always have done with world healers in the past. And you're wonderful at gathering information and holding and bringing through a channeled script that the rest of us can tune into and step back into the innate body and on into the absolute, and supply the energy for what you are programming. So let's do that. And
well, yeah, I would really like Angel to lead her meditation. That's what I mean.
Oh, well, we can do both,
Sure.
At this time, we'd like to ask anyone who needs healing or requests healing for someone else to post it through Gaz, so we can do the healing work when we come back from our break, and then go right on into those meditations, because it's break time, Gaz.
Also,
more about gel coat.
When the fourth round,
don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
oh, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited.
all for a price that will make you...
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
All right, everyone, we're back, and we're going to have a couple of meditations, but prior to that, we have a healing request for John Travis, Alabama, kidney stones and infection. I think scanning the group, Angel, would you like to lead that one?
Okay, so what I'm feeling is crystallized emotions. Yes, we can accept calls. Yes. Crystallized emotions. So that fits in with to what we will be saying today, actually. The technique that I was mentioning just before sets free energy imprisoned within us and then liberates the energy for dreaming, so visualize your kidneys dark blue and release any fear. And if you think of any fear, you can put the fear into your hands, cup your hands together, see the fear in your hands, and then set the fear free into the ether, thanking the fear for teaching you. And then replace the emotion of kindness in your kidneys. So I can see the kidney stones are actually. So now we can see the kidney stones changing into sand and becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the pain that you feel, transform it into dark blue energy, dark blue color. That will ease the pain. Thank you. Frank?
Oh, okay. Let's see, am I on? Yep. All right. John, I'd also like to suggest that you shift the alkaline and acidic pH of your system to and help to neutralize that crystalline condition and clear it out of your system. And you can do that with cranberry juice and things of that nature, but be conscious of and I'm not a holistic practitioner. I do everything with energy, but Teresa or Angel, can you suggest something that can help him to shift the pH in his body?
Bicarbonate sodium is very good. And lemon juice in the morning 1 or 2 squeezed lemons in the mornings if your liver can stand it, otherwise later on during the day. Bicarbonate sodium and cranberry juice. But bicarbonate and lemon are the ones that are going to alkalize the body.
Okay, that's perfect. All right,
Also,
go
I
ahead.
add just please, yeah. If deep breathing, if whoever is listening regarding lowering or balancing your pH, there's a gentleman by the name of Wim Hof, Wimhof. You can find him on YouTube, and he talks about balancing your pH with breathing, and he teaches a breathing technique, deep breathing, that he's done experiments at an American university to prove that more than just your pH can come into balance as well. So again, his name is Wim Hof, Wimhof. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And can Michael communicate with us right on Skype vocally? Yeah, go ahead and pull Michael in, and we'll see what his situation is. All right. Well, this is a wonderful new world of opportunity for us to be able to communicate directly with anyone, and we don't do. Unfortunately, the laws do not allow us to diagnose it or to do anything. We have to have your diagnosis of what your situation is, or a doctor's diagnosis preferably. And we're not allowed to cut and do surgery, and we're not allowed to prescribe medications of any kind, any restricted medications. But we can do what we just did, which is talk about the diet and things of that nature that don't interfere with the drug companies. So we have
Hello?
Michael. Hello. Hi, Michael.
How are you?
We're good. Tell us your situation. What would you like to have accomplished?
Well, last night I was actually over at Teresa's place. Teresa, that's on the show with us right now. And, well, we did several clearings last night, and we had quite a few spirits around us. And although we did clearings, I think that I might need a clearing myself, just kind of to make sure that I don't have any attachments or anything like that. Is that a possibility?
Oh, absolutely. I'm dowsing you as we speak, since we know what your requirement is. Is this our Teresa from Canada that you're talking about?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh, good. All right, Teresa, let's just use our years of experience dealing with entities here. And I'm dowsing, does Michael have any entities? Now, when I ask that question like that, it's like, these are disincarnate human entities. And I know with Teresa, that's the first thing she would work with, and it's like I do. And the second thing I would ask, okay, does Michael have any low self indwellers? Does Michael have any low self low soul indwellers. And I get a no on that one. And one of our shows last week, we talked quite a bit about low self indwellers, and she says very well of those. Yeah, I'm getting a big yes on that. Let me check a couple of other things here. Just give me a moment.
Sure.
All right. Now, Michael, I am getting that you do have influences through your DNA and with what I have no other terminology for it. So these attachments can be historic, passed down through your family line, and they're essences. I call them essences. So I would advise, and I'll give you a technique for doing that. Take your point of attention up into your forehead and just relax back now. Relax back. And I'm checking to see if you have a block, a religious block, and you don't. So obviously Teresa's worked with that. But step on back now deeper. Step back deeper, deeper, deeper. We have to access the quantum fields through your innate body. And that gets us right down into the DNA level. So just pick out one cell in your body now. Just visualize one cell in your body. And it's like just blowing the contents of that cell up on a screen, a visual screen, like a theater screen or something. Mm-hmm. And what you're asking for, pull up the DNA that's functional and active in your system at this time. What you're asking for is essences of consciousness programmed onto the DNA that would make you subjective or would prompt you through fear patterning from past experiences, where you would give
something. It has something to do with seasonal also. I don't know how else to put
it has to do with him being subjective to family and religious fear of survival. In other words, we're into his low self. Michael, what I want you to do is reject, clear, release, give back, block any essences attached to your system that prompt you to give away your personal power. Because what this does, it makes you insecure. It makes you afraid of your choices. So do that now. Because if I'm picking up that you are a healer, and in past lives you've been a healer, and in those lives you were killed and put down and excommunicated and a whole lot of things. That's just right. Release all of that. Release all of that. Release any fear of your metaphysical knowledge. Open up the flows of consciousness from your oversoul, your superconsciousness, to come in and replace in the DNA any pattern or program that would block or limit your knowledge, your personal knowledge, your intuitive, instinctive knowledge, and anything that would block your right to the privilege of expressing yourself. Because and I want you to shift your consciousness from reaching out to others for confirmation. Reach up to oversoul. Reach up to your oversoul and pull in the pure and certain knowledge that you have the right and the authority to express what you feel, what you know. And as you do that, you will amplify and gain incredible skills and ability that you already have that were blocked in your past life experiences. Good. I feel the flow coming down through you now.
Mm-hmm. I really feel it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, just take it into every part of your body, every cell in your body, releasing fear and anxiety of expressing yourself, knowing that when your intuition prompts you to speak, you're speaking pure truth because it's coming from source. And this is teaching you to not pull information laterally from people that you think know the answers, because you do know the answers. Well, that's a wonderful flow we've got going. And anyone out there in the listening audience who fears to express or experience their high self flows of knowledge and information, release, just flush the essences patterned into your DNA and into your Akashic records, into your earth mind. Flush it away down the spine. Pull in a flow of informational energy and from the oversoul to replace the fear patterning and programming, so you can be a full consummate healer and trust. The big thing is to trust what you receive through your oversoul. You just know what to do. Flush it all away.
It's incredible. It feels very, very nice.
Yes, and it's happening to everyone out there who has the same situation as yourself. And another thing you can trust is that one fear that most metaphysical people have is to be able to make a living doing healing work. When you have this clarity that's flushing through you now, Spirit will help you. It will direct to you people who need your skills and your abilities. So you'll always be able to make a good living, have a good income, and not have to waste your time at a job. And that's important for the metaphysical people, is to know that when you're in the full flow and have the clarity, you don't have to worry about supporting yourself. Spirit will bring to you the people, the opportunities you need to utilize your knowledge and ability. That's one of the things that's happening in this ascension of consciousness. Is we're people need us. The world needs us. We're changing the world. So internalize that and acknowledge it, and flush the rest of that out of your low self now down around the root chakra. That's attachment. That energy I feel there is your past Akashic records in Earth Mind. Just flush it out. Just go stretch out, reach out to the nodes of where you've lived, and just flush them with energy now, with the intent of clearing out any blocks to your personal power and your self-acknowledgement of who you are. And everyone out there can do that. That's better. Yeah, doesn't that feel
very nice?
You felt that break, didn't you?
It was a release. It was like a tension build, and then it was just like it dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just felt so good afterwards.
Well, you just had a shift of consciousness. Now
it's really nice.
Now you and Teresa can share knowledge and ability now, and you can trust and know that what she tells you is always the absolute truth from her perspective. And this is another point. Everyone has a different perspective of truth, simply because we have a different point of view and different programming and patterning. So you may not always agree because of your intuitive, but you can always adapt. You can adapt anybody's perspective to fit with what you know and what is high.
Yeah. We did a lot of spiritual work last night, and I was just gonna, like, we always get a lot of really good information whenever we do our sessions, and I was just gonna do a voice recording of it because there's always so much info. And last night we decided to film it on video, and at first there was orbs flying all around us, like crazy amounts of orbs. And there was one dark being that was hanging around our feet, and it was a shadow thing that was it was going in between us. And when we started doing our clearing, it dispersed all of it, and the amount of change that it brought through was just incredible. And when we did that and went through the whole session, at the end, the entire apartment changed hugely. It was like someone opened up several windows and let all the negative energies out of there. And we also freed some spirits as well while we were at it, sent them home. And anyways, I had that thought today that I had something going on with me that was really blocking me in order to help out with that more. And there's some sort of a, not only a block, but something attached that was...
Yeah, well, it wasn't necessarily attached. It was just the essences of a self-acknowledgement, of your subconscious mind. But always remember, when you do these flushes and clearing with the intent of getting rid of stuff like this, always pull in from your oversoul, from your high self, the positive opposite. So fill yourself up with self-love and personal power and knowledge. Okay, well, thank you very much, Michael. We look forward to working with you in the future, because you sound like a very bright young man and exactly the people we're looking for, that we can help prompt and turn you loose to your own devices.
Thank you very much. I feel great.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you later, Mike.
Hi, Teresa.
All right. We have about 35 minutes left. If there are no other requests, and Angel, if you would like to do your clearing meditation, whatever you are prompted to do, then we'll drop off to Teresa and have her pull this stuff together. Okay?
Okay, also there was a request about healing the earth as well early on.
I don't see that.
About the tornadoes and storms in North Alabama.
All right. All right. Teresa can do that when she does the pulls everything together for the world. All right, you go ahead, Angel.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to do a meditation so everybody can step back and allow your heart to expand front and back. And breathing as much light as you can through the center of your heart. And as you open your heart, you can see a ball of light like a star. And this is your star, which links you with the star from where you come from. And breathe in more light through the center of your heart. And let this light expand, encompassing your throat chakra, your solar plexus chakra, and the unified field. Breathing as much light as you can. Breathing through and around your body. Bringing unconditional love and as much elevated emotion as you can. Bringing joy, gratitude, expanding the light. Breathe in more light through the center of your heart. And then see this light encompassing all your bodies, all your light body. Seeing your light body moving to higher dimensions. And always come back to your heart as an anchor. Seeing the star, the sun growing. Breathe in light through the center of your heart. And allow this light to go through every cell in your body. Seeing yourself as a unity of light. And now think of an event, either a person, trauma, whatever comes to your mind. And allow yourself to feel all the emotions of the trauma, whatever happened with that person you're thinking about. And now breathe in, moving your head to your left shoulder. And as a sweeping breath, continue leaving the event and breathe out on your right shoulder. Go back to the center. Breathe in more of the event, feeling every single emotion from the event. Breathe in, sweeping breath, breathing out. Go back to the center. And now with the intention of recuperating all the emotions, all the energy that you have lost during the event or with that person. Breathing in, moving the head to the right shoulder, getting all the energy back, going to the left shoulder, going to the front, expel, and then keep on doing that recuperating every filament of light, recuperating every energy that you have lost during the event. Breathing in from the front, as if you're pulling a thread back to you. Move your head to your right shoulder, and as a sweeping breath, go to your left shoulder in your own time and go back to the front. Do that as many times as you want to recuperate all the energy, all the emotions. See those filaments of light coming back. And when you are ready, you can look at that person or look at the event from a place of no pity, as if it doesn't belong to you anymore. And carry on doing the sweeping breath from shoulder to shoulder. Making sure that you recuperate all the energy, and making sure that when you think about that person or the event, all the emotions are gone. Knowing that you can go back every time you want, and knowing that the available energy that has come back to you is bringing healing, and setting you free, setting free any trapped energies, knowing that you won't be triggered by that person or that event anymore. And if you feel that you are still triggered, just keep on moving your head from side to side at your own space. Left to right shoulder at your own time, at your own pace. You can have long exhalations, and you can move slowly in order not to get too dizzy when you're doing that. Our breath is very magical. It's a life-giving act. So use it accordingly as a magical vehicle. The exhalation to eject the foreign energy, and the inhalation to pull back the energy during the interaction. Our breaths are very powerful, and there are many different kinds of breathing exercises that we can do. And using also our body as an instrument of consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Now let's go to Teresa. And Teresa has a wonderful skill for listening to all the dynamics that come up. And when she reaches up to Oversoul, she's given a flow of consciousness that pulls together the information into knowledge. And with our intent, we add the energy to her meditation to reach out and touch anything in the world, any dynamic of consciousness that needs to be balanced or brought into harmony. So will you do that for us, Teresa?
I'd love to. Thank you so very much. And thank you, Angel. It was so powerful. I felt like I was right there. And sometimes I don't feel energies. Other times there are wisps of energies, but this time I really could feel the magnification of the emotions in the pit of my belly and feel it releasing on the exhalations. Thanks so very much for that. It was beautiful.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like all of us to focus our intention on clearing our planet. And on a couple of my journeys, I've had the delightful pleasure of having Mother Gaia come forward and speak to me. And she shared gratitude for the work that we do. And each and every one of you in the listening audience, the thank you is absolutely extended to you as well. I am only a voice to pass that on. And a thank you to all of the world healing teams that send out intentions of clearing for the earth and for all who reside on her and are her children. So now just step back into that loving, calm place in your heart where Angel brought us to. And we know that we are all connected. We are connected as one. We are all one. And feel the embrace of each and every one of the sentient beings and consciousness throughout the universe, the multiverse, the earth, throughout the cosmos. And just yesterday I was reminded by a being that came forward how our chakras are connected as grid patterns or sacred geometry that reaches out from our chakras. And feel yourself connecting as I'm speaking to the chakras as colored threads that reach out beyond the earth into the galaxy and the chakras, the connections of the earth and each planet and each moon and each sun and reach out into the universe and all of the stars in the skies create its own web or ley lines or energy lines. And beyond that, in the multiverses that extend beyond that, and how we are all connected as one. And we are also connected to all of the wisdom and knowledge that ever was, that was created and exists in this moment of now, and also our construct of the future. And in that information, in that wisdom, in that knowledge, is all of the information and all of the energies that we can resource. And we expand beyond that, beyond even what our multidimensional minds can conceive. And it is an ever-growing universe because we are ever creating and ever resourcing. And in that creation is simply using what we know and using in a way that we've never used it before to expand and co-create from there. And so now we follow those webs, those ley lines, those energy patterns, grids, sacred geometries back to our own heart. Where that star resides, our source of where we were created, and feel that connection, and feel that star expanding in light and diversity of colors. Visualize the sun shining on that star, the tens of thousands of colors that we can't even imagine. There's such beauty and iridescence glowing, and you can feel it penetrating all of your cells outward, penetrating the spaces between the cells. And it's igniting the memories of all of the gifts and wisdom and knowledge that is innate in our essence, in our being. It's strengthening and growing. And we can feel one another around this planet and feel the connection and feel the family that we truly are, that familiarity of unconditional love from one another. And we feel it penetrating into the earth, this essence of being, this beautiful planet who is our mother, a nurturer of our home, our food, our air, our water, the land we stand on that brings forth all of these gifts. Feel that light glowing and growing from your heart into the essence of this planet. And project the love into this star, into these colors, into the tones that bring harmony and balance within the planet in all of the worlds that exist within her, and share with all the beings, the elementals, the invisible to our eyes beings that call Earth their home as well. All of the animals that existed in this plane, all of the beings, the sentient beings that will exist in the future. We invite them to receive the energy as we project this unconditional love to the spirits that are also in support of the earth, of Gaia, the spirits of the forest, the spirits of nature, the spirits in the ionosphere surrounding the earth, the spirits of each of the kingdoms, animals, mineral kingdoms, all of the directions, all of those of every skin color. We invite all those who don't realize that they are being invited in. We call you in. Those who are beginning to hear, know that there is an essence of welcoming because we are all one. And each and every one of us can project that love within into the healing and harmony of the earth. And we see the energies that are stress pulling off of the earth and transmuting into the golden grid around the earth so that she may use that energy at a later time to enhance and balance and harmonize the earth. We feel the stresses lifting from the oceans like bubbles going up and bursting at the surface, and that stress energy being transmuted. And the word transmuted means beyond change, in the same way that when a child comes to you with a sore thumb, asking you for help, and you kiss their tender hand and say, "It's okay, it's all better now," and they hop away happily. And what you have done is you've kissed away the pain and transmuted it into love. And in the same way, we offer that throughout all of the realms, dimensions, realities, and all of the etheric essences that we all share. You see the land, the core of the earth outward, releasing stresses, the volcanoes tectonic plates, from the fracking, from any toxicity, physical toxicity and chemicals. You see them lifting away and transmuting from each and every continent, from the center outward. Again, transmuting and filling the golden grid of surrounding the earth. And within each population of the earth, we assist them in recognizing each person, each spirit, each soul, to recognize and release those stresses from within, going up into the golden grid. With each exhale, they release, release, release. And with each inhale, they bring in the light of Source. And we see it expanding and expanding in each and every person, each and every population on the earth. And in your own minds, you can feel and sense areas in your own worlds that require release of stress. Visualize that. And breathe in the light of Source into each and every one of those aspects from within the earth, within the water, the lakes, rivers, fjords, tributaries, seas, and oceans. You see that light coming in and penetrating and enriching. And we see each aspect of the lands, the continents, the lands beneath all of the water, and we feel that energy and see those sparks of light penetrating all aspects of the earth. We see the areas of the volcanoes calming as we pulled that stress out, and breathe in the energy of Source into those areas, calming, harmonizing. And the fracking areas, we see all of those areas releasing all of the stresses, and in its place is a lubrication of light, a gentle, soft light between the areas that are rubbing against one another. And we see all of the areas of the fracking release in the minds of those who are doing this, the stresses of knowing what they're doing and the awareness of what they're doing and the release of what they're doing to do greater good for the best and highest good. And we see these cracked areas full of the tension and the stress and the chemicals and the broken lands, and reunite the energies by filling it with light from source. And we go to those war-torn areas, and we embrace all of the children to our own hearts, all of the mothers and fathers, embrace them and bring light into their lives and release the emotions of horror and fear and survival, and replace them with deep breaths of source light. And we can see it expanding and expanding. And we come now back to our little chairs, and we breathe in the light from within, deeper and deeper into our hearts, and replace all of the places in the world with light. And bring a breath back in and center here in your chairs. Come back to the room you're in, and know that you're absolutely filled with the light of Source. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. That was perfect. And now, Catherine, if you could take us out with a word of love.
Love have mercy. Love have mercy. Love have mercy. As it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Go and be. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone who participated and listened to the show today. And as we gain confidence with this new audience and we can pull in what you need for healing or for knowledge or information, we will grow. And so please tell others what we have to offer, and we will be here for you. Thank you, Gaz, and goodbye.
Also,
not only more about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
well, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited.
All for a price that will make you...
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.